Hi guys, I am so excited about our next guest. I'm Ashley Nicole of Passion, Purpose, and Paychecks, and joining us here we have Bela Gandhi of Smart Dating Academy. You all have literally asked for this. We've gotten questions about relationships, but we have an expert in our midst. Bela, tell us, what is Smart Dating Academy?
So I started Smart Dating Academy 8 years ago, and we're like going to school to learn how to date. Or people have described us as like personal trainers for your dating and relationship life. So
I like that.
We teach people how to identify partners that are actually good for them and make them happy so they don't fall into that 50% divorce statistic. And then after we help them to roadmap out for the first time this kind of partner that makes them happy, which could be men or women, we work with both. Then we develop a dating plan that's fun and exciting and inspiring, that involves 3 major things: meeting people online, meeting them in real life, and then getting set up by family or friends. So through those 3 pipelines, that is how you find love.
I love that, and it's very strategic too. I love what you said about finding your match. Dating is one thing, but people also struggle to find their match in their career lives. But obviously you are an expert at finding love and finding your match, but did you always know that you would be a dating coach?
No.
So let's talk about your background, because I think this is so interesting. You were essentially in finance, and now you do this, but you went to the University of Illinois in business school?
Yeah, so
Me as well, love that.
Love that.
And what was your major at the University of Illinois?
So I accidentally got 2 degrees from U of I. So I have a degree in finance, and then I also have a degree in German because I was studying it in high school and kept taking electives at U of I. So when I was a junior, I thought, oh my gosh, if I take 3 more classes, I'm gonna have a degree. So I actually have a degree from the business school and from LAS at U of I.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that's the, LAS is the
Liberal Arts and Sciences School at the University of Illinois.
Perfect. So you have this degree in finance, and do you go into that field after undergrad?
Yes. So when I graduated school, the plumbest job you could get as a U of I business graduate was working for one of the big 6 accounting firms.
Oh, of course.
And so I was super happy, and for some reason I always had my sights set on, I want to work for Arthur Andersen in those big brown doors. So I got a job offer in October of my senior year, and then once I started, I ended up working in their M&A group.
And this was essentially, so I typically say the big 4 accounting firms, but of course then it was the big 6 accounting firms.
Back in the day.
Right. It was the big 6 accounting firms, and that is what you aspire to do. It is like the holy grail of the profession, or what you could start your career at. Was it all that you hoped it would be?
It was all that I hoped it would not be at that point. Day 1 of work was, at best, I would call it soul crushing. You get there, right, you're 22 years old, you've worked your whole life for this, right?
Yes.
There's been straight A's and high honors and all of these things. And then I got to my first day at work, and they put me in a cubicle and told me to read these 3 big binders about life insurance. And nobody talked to me day 1. And at 5 o'clock, they said, we've got a project and it's emergency. We need you to copy 100 of these binders, and they need to be FedExed out tomorrow. I was like, it is 5:30. So I was given a task. I got home at 11 p.m. after having paper cuts and Xeroxed 100, 300-page binders. Walked into my house. My mom says, how was your day at work? And I just burst out crying.
So after your first day of work at what you believe to be your dream job, you come home blistered and in tears. Essentially, is that what you're telling me?
Crushed. This poor 22-year-old's like, this is what it's all about? And my parents just looked at me, they're like, really? And so it got better after that, but I think my first day sort of clued me in that I may not be the best person to do this job.
But I think that what you said was important, that, and I know that a lot of our viewers deal with this, who are who've worked so hard for their careers. They've gone to law school, they've gone to medical school, they've gone to B school, business school. They've done all these things, they've done everything right to get this golden ticket, which is the ideal job, and they get there and they realize, oh crap, this isn't what I love. How do you get from that point to then identifying what actually is your passion?
Well, I think, it takes a long time and it's hard to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think what it really requires is a lot of introspection and really looking at what you love and why and what you don't love. And I think through that, it evolves. I mean, I'll tell you, I know people that from the age of 5 were like, oh my gosh, I want to be a journalist or I want to be a teacher. And I always envied those people because I didn't know for a long time what I was supposed to do. So when you don't know, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to business school, I'm going to go to law school, I'm going to do something that hopefully will set me up for that. But I think it's harder. I think people that know what they want to do kind of from birth are a very rare breed. And I love that they kind of sail into that and, kind of achieve that and keep doing that ad infinitum. But I think for the rest of us, which is a far bigger percentage of the population, it's not always an easy go.
Oh, by far. And I'll tell people I've always wanted to be an attorney. I've known since I was a child I would be a lawyer. My parents were pretty much like lawyer or doctor. And I'm like, not doctor, lawyer. And I've known that since I was a child. But in developing as a person, I like law, I love law, that is a passion of mine, but if I were to be truly honest with myself, it would be like I've also always loved networking, telling people stories, giving advice. And so for me, it was more so, you can love more than one thing and you can pursue more than one thing, and that's okay. Because other people want everything to make sense. And I imagine when you told people you were going from finance and you would inevitably become a dating coach, there were some people that were like, no, this doesn't make sense. Did you have that at all?
I think I was always good at school and I was always an overachiever, but in this area of my life, I truly lacked purpose until serendipitously in college, I was always the extrovert like you, very social, loved going out after studying for accounting or finance at 10:30 p.m. The ponytail comes out and you're going to be off to the clubs to have a little fun, dance, blow some steam. And I had a roommate who was shy and introverted, so we were like the perfect yin and yang.
My best friend is shy and introverted, and we're like this. Yeah.
And so I said to her, I'm like, take off your glasses, put your contacts in, we're going out. She's like, I got nothing tonight, you're on your own. So I went to a party with a friend of mine and met another guy, and while he was talking, this new guy that I met, it's like all the lights went dim. It was like a scene out of a movie, and the voices were kind of muffled, and I sort of faded out, and I came back in, and the first thing out of my mouth is, you're gonna marry my roommate.
The first thing, Bella?
Who does that? Like, in retrospect, it was like, this guy looked at me and he was like, who are you? And what on earth is all this about? We are 21 years old at this point.
Oh my goodness.
I got to know him through this common friend of mine, and I knew that these two were supposed to be married. And they didn't listen until years later, they went out on their first date, and I had told them, go out on one date, and I promised you were going to be married. And so 2.5 years later, when they got engaged, after they called their parents, they called me. My phone rang. I was literally running my family's manufacturing company at this point. I was going to O'Hare to take a flight to Tokyo. I picked up my phone and they said, we got engaged. You're the first person we're calling after our parents. And I got that call, and it brought such joy and goosebumps, and I kind of felt like I was levitating off the ground.
Wow.
I put the phone down. My husband's like, what is up with you? You're like, get out of here, you're gonna miss your flight. I'm like, they just got engaged. And I said to him, I'm supposed to do this.
Wow.
And he's like, do what? Like,
so you had a moment. Like, there are people that have, feelings over time, but you had a moment that was like, oh my gosh, this is my purpose?
I had a moment in college saying, you two are supposed to get married.
Yeah.
And when it happened, and everyone's going, how did you know? I was like, well, I just knew.
Right.
And I knew at that point, I want to do this. And so I would follow dating and relationship agencies obsessively, like, how do people do this? What are they doing? While I was running my family's business, which manufactured Teflon for cookware and baking.
So you ended up leaving your job in finance to run your family's manufacturing business, and then while there did more research into how you could really get into the matchmaking and dating coaching space?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or I wouldn't even say it was a lot of research. It was just like side-eyeing it, like,
okay.
Man, I'd love to do that. Oh, here's a company that's doing that. Man, I'd love to do that. But I kept sort of doing what I was really good at, which was running our company.
And so there was an established market, though, for this, right? Because I think that when you know, lay persons who, I was married really young. I think we got married at 21. So I've never looked into the struggle of dating because I was so young. I didn't have a long dating experience. But for those that are interested in dating and just don't really know how to do it, they didn't even know there was a market for it. How did you know at that time that there was a market for this, or did you know?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
I just knew I wanted to help people put their plan together and find love. And by this time, I had put my own plan together. I had my own dating patterns, we all do, and put my own analysis together when I was a senior in college. And it was literally like nerdy finance person spreadsheet.
So tell me your love story, because if spreadsheets are involved, this is going to be good.
Right. I'm all about spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So I literally said, why am I not dating the right kinds of people for me? Well, let's take a step back, Bela Gandhi, and do an analysis of your dating life. So I literally put a bunch of columns together. Who have you dated? How often? How many years? What drew you to this person? What worked? What didn't work? What was his responsibility in the breakup? What was yours? And through that, I was like, oh. And then, who are the people in your life that make you really, really happy? Who are the people that elevate you? And in doing this analysis at the ripe old age of 21, it led me to say, the person that made me really, really happy was my male best friend, who was the first person I'd call in the morning, the last person I'd call in the evening. And a year later, we started dating, and we've now been married for 20 years.
I love that. And congratulations on 20 years of marriage. That is phenomenal. Now, there are people watching with opposite sex best friends or same sex best friends, whatever. Whatever. And they are, they're thinking as you're saying this, what about so-and-so? Maybe this is a sign. Did you know before writing it all down that there was something more than friendship there?
No.
You didn't?
No.
So it was like 1,000,000% platonic.
And this is the thing with chemistry. I'm going to segue a little bit into dating.
Okay.
Is, especially for women, we don't necessarily have to feel all that chemistry and all of that physicality in the beginning.
Yeah.
But at a certain point in time, there's an inflection point where a different kind of chemistry can spark that physical chemistry. Where you're like,
that's true.
It's something he did, something he said, and you're like, I think I might have a little crush on him. Where did that come from? I've known him for this long. So I think for me, doing that analysis really sort of said, wow, these are qualities that are important to me. I bring these kinds of people into my life, and look at that.
I like that you took such a strategic approach that can be duplicated, because I think that when people find love, oftentimes it's a beautiful story, but it's not something that someone else can take, learn from, adopt in their lives, and potentially also find love.
I think that there is a methodology. We've developed a methodology, and what I see is that our culture doesn't espouse a methodology.
Yes.
What are we taught as a culture? Like, you'll just know when that person's right for you. Well, guess what? 50% of people get divorced in the first 7 years of marriage.
Yeah.
We don't just know. We think we know. We feel lust. We feel chemistry. And that's nature's way of tricking us into attachment, right?
I like that.
So many of us.
Lust, chemistry, nature's way of tricking us into attachment.
But
wow.
we're not always looking for the right things.
Exactly.
And we're not taught that at home. We're not taught that by our parents. We're taught by what we see in Hollywood films, what we read in Harlequin romance novels. Maybe we're modeling what we saw at home with our parents. Maybe that's healthy, maybe that's unhealthy. So there are a lot of factors that go into how people are choosing their mates. But like I said, 50% of marriages end up in divorce in this country.
Exactly.
Another 10 to 15% of couples permanently separate, and that number doesn't even hit the record. So now you're talking 2 in 3 marriages don't make it over the finish line.
Yeah.
Now we're left with 1 in 3.
Fully.
Fully. Now we're left with 1 in 3 that actually stay together. If you take 1 in 3, how many of those do you think are actually happy? Even if you give that heads or tails odds, you're talking 1 in 6.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why we
not
need.
Great.
It's not great.
That's not great.
Well, thank God for Smart Dating Academy. So how do you go from realizing there is a market for this, realizing you have a gift and a knack for this, to starting the Smart Dating Academy?
You know, so after I worked for my family's company and we sold it, and the company that acquired us they wanted me to stay on forever, but I stayed on for 5 years GMing the company, and I left in 2006. You know, I think it wasn't so easy. I didn't leave there with an exit plan saying, I'm going to go start this dating business right now. So it was a lot of soul searching, soul crushing to get to that thought. But once I realized what I wanted to do, then I started to do the research, but it didn't lead me there automatically.
So where did it lead you?
Doing the research?
Yes.
So I started my company in 2009, and I actually was called Chicago's Matchmaker.
Okay.
Because I thought I had matchmade so many people. After college, there were more couples and more couples and more couples. So I thought, well, I want to become a matchmaker. So I thought, what's a great name to be searched easily on Google? Chicago and Matchmaker. So that's how I founded the company. And what I found is that people were very ready to outsource their dating life to a matchmaker because people were tired. They have dating fatigue. They're like, oh my God, set me up on one good date a month, I'm in. But what I found is that actually, number one, was much harder for me than I thought it would be because I didn't have a database of people.
Right.
I was doing the pick and shovel work through social media and finding people to match these clients with, and then my clients would blow the dates on the first date. Like, I would work for a month, talk to hundreds of people to find that one needle in a haystack, and after date 1, they busted the date, and I was like, oh my God.
So originally, I just want to make sure I understand. So Chicago's Matchmaker, a woman could come in. Obviously, she's busy because she's willing to things I outsource. I am too busy or not that interested enough to do myself. I'm like, I'm not an expert in this. Someone else can do this. So she comes in looking for an expert, such as yourself, and she's able to say 1 date a month, and she like paid a subscription of some kind, or how did that work?
Yeah. So the first client I had, I was so nervous. I'm like, I didn't even have a business card. I didn't know how to charge. And I had run a big business for a $6 billion company at this point. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I charge? So this one, actually my first client was a man. And he said, and the story's really funny as to how he became a client, but he said, I want you to find me, 3 dates over the next 3 months. I was like, let's do it, game on. And so we met at a Starbucks, and he hired me on the spot, and I told him the truth, like, you're the first person I'm talking to. I don't have a business card. I don't even have a company that's incorporated. He's like, I like your moxie. I think you're going to do a good job for me. I was like, all right, let's go. And so that was my first client.
And how did you charge him?
I literally called a few people that I knew and said, what should I charge? So I literally said, I'm going to charge you $750 for thousands of hours of work. And I didn't know that then, but that's what I ended up doing. And when I'm in, I work hard, tirelessly. Like, I don't even care at that point about the money. I want to do a good job.
Yeah.
So I must have spent, I don't know, 100 hours finding him 3 good dates.
And what was the result?
The result was, he said, these are the 3 best dates I'd ever been on, but none of the women wanted to go on a second date with him.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, what happened? So herein lies the evolution of how I realized this isn't the real value to the dating client. the value here. He's like, I want all of these characteristics. I produced 3 amazing dates. He's like, these are the best dates I've been on. So when the girls didn't want to go out with him, I called the girls. I'm like, I need to do some due diligence here. Why did this man blow all 3 dates? And so the data that I got from these women about what he did on the dates that he would have never gotten, all he knew was the no. They were willing to fess up to me.
Right, of course.
From a standpoint of confidentiality. And I said, you tell me everything, and I'm looking for a pattern. And what this man is doing that made these 3 women that were perfect on paper for him said no. And they all said on the date that this man, who was really nice and successful, that he kept talking about how awesome his brother was during the date.
And they were interested in the brother?
Right. He's like, well, I went to school in Chicago, but my brother went to Stanford. You know, I've got a great job doing this, but my brother started this company. So,
and no woman wants a man who's not confident in himself or who's just always giving it away.
And so, what my client thought was just making conversation ended up being what was blowing his date.
Because that is awkward. I mean,
So, and all 3 of these women are like, can you set me up with his brother? I was like, his brother's married. Like, okay. But that piece of data, he had no idea. And so therein, his dating life started to change. I'm like, what you're doing is you're talking about yourself in a way that makes you not look confident, not look like the man with the plan. So the way you're talking about your brother is the way that you actually need to feel about yourself, first and foremost, and then talk about yourself. This man is now married with 2 children.
oh, that's wonderful.
But so, and that's when the lightning bulb struck. It's like, people say they want something, but what they don't actually know is what they need, and they don't know how they're presenting. They don't know how they're showing up. And so in 6 months, if I started my business of Chicago's Matchmaker in October of '09. By April of 2010, I said, I will no longer matchmake people. This is not where the value is. The value is in bringing the self-awareness to people. What are their dating patterns? What are they doing right? What are they not doing right? And so I rebranded as Smart Dating Academy and started this entirely new business model where we're actually teaching people how to do this in the right way for the first time.
Your matchmaking clients, did they stay on and use your dating coach services?
So when I decide to do something, I'm in or I'm out. So the day I decided to stop matchmaking, I owed a couple of them a match. And I called them, I said, I'd like to refund your $250 because I'm no longer gonna matchmake. I'm not able to do this, but because I really wanna go into coaching. Not one of them took their money back. They all said, you've given me so much more. With advice and matches, we wanna stay on with you, but you're not refunding a cent to me. And at that point, when someone tells you that, you know that you're probably on the right track to doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, because you're adding value.
You're adding value, and nobody said, I want my money back.
Wow.
They're like, you've already over-delivered. I was like, what does this mean? Like, okay, this
You're
is
walking
good.
in your purpose.
Wow,
That's
okay.
amazing.
Here, this sounds and feels like it's right. And they all stayed on. It's crazy.
That is great. So how did, logistically, Chicago's Matchmaker morph into Smart Dating Academy?
So it was an overnight decision for me, as I tend to do. Like if I said we're done, we're done. So Chicago's Matchmaker didn't exist. And I just said I'm going to become a date coach and I'm going to really help people to figure out how to do this. And so I started developing these coaching packages. And with 6 months of perspective on matchmaking and what people needed, I also realized that online dating had become an incredibly robust pipeline for people. No one wanted to do it, but I also realized that people weren't using it in the right way through my matchmaking clients.
And what do you mean by that?
So my matchmaking clients would say, okay, give me a date a month. I was like, listen, there's 30 other days this month. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm on Match. I'm like, let me see your Match profile. And I'd look at their profiles. I was like, these photos are ugly. They don't even look like you. Like, who is that person in those photos? In your profile, you sound mean. You sound so negative. They're like, okay, why don't you write it for me? So I'd take their laptop and I'd start banging away. They're like, oh, this is so much better. Like, you need a new photographer. Like, these pictures are awful. They suck. Like, well, where do I go? So I started researching photographers. And this is how my business evolved over that 6 months, because I was over-delivering to my matchmaking clients. I wasn't an online dating consultant, but I wanted them to have it best, and I wasn't going to send them to a photographer that was unvetted. So this is how Smart Dating Academy started to evolve, such that in April, I'm like, this is what people need. They need to understand how they're presenting, understand who's going to make them happy, get good photos, have a good profile. So that's how this business evolved. And in June or July of that year, when I was telling one of my mentors what I was doing, she said, Bella, you are teaching people how to date smarter. And it was at that moment that the name for the business came to me, like Smart Dating. And we're teaching people how to do it. And at that point, smartdating.com, the URL had already been registered by someone. So I was like, okay, I need Smart Dating something.
Yeah.
And Smart Dating Academy came to me. My husband's like, bam, that's it. And that's how the company was formed.
That is wonderful. So your first group of clients came from your matchmaking business. But how did you develop your clients? And in terms of client development, how did you get more clients to your business? How do you find people that are willing to admit, I need a dating coach?
Well, it's interesting. I think word of mouth is always the best pipeline for any small business, for any big business. And once you have a happy client, then they may whisper to their friends, like, hey, I think you need to call Bela Gandhi. And so that started to happen in Chicago. And then through happenstance, through some referrals, I started to get some referrals in New York. And for a while, I was flying to New York every month to seed our business in New York. And so one client leads to 3, leads to 5, leads to 10. And that's really how the business began.
How many clients do you have on average?
We probably, because now we're doing high-end date coaching, we've got a national client base, so we probably bring on anywhere, just on our one-on-one client side, we probably bring on anywhere from 100 to 200 new clients a year. But then we also, I consult with Match.com, I do webinars, so we're teaching and helping people through various platforms and the whole media side of this, which is a completely unexpected turn. I would have never, ever, ever guessed. If you would have told me, would you start a successful business? Maybe. If somebody would have told me you'd be in the media 2 to 3 times a week talking about date coaching locally and nationally, I'd be like, you're smoking something. Right. So that part of the business has been very non-expected, but I also view the media as a great platform to be able to help lots of people that may not be able to afford having a one-on-one dating coach.
Yes.
If you can say something that someone listening at 2 p.m. can say, oh my gosh, I get it. And we get these letters from people that heard something somewhere, and it makes it all worth it.
You've given so many great words of advice already. You've given so many tips already that can help our viewers with dating. Give us some dating tips that our viewers can use coming into February, which is the love month. I mean, Valentine's Day is coming up. What can they do now to ensure they're open and ready to be smart daters?
Number one, I think what they have to do is stop being negative about the process and about dating. So often we get mired in these negative stories that we tell ourselves. I'm too old, I'm too heavy, there's no good people left out there. And the first thing you need to do is take that mindset and shut it down and look at the facts. The census says that 43% of the adult population is single. That's 107 million single adults in this country. So I tell people the first thing to do is you have to reset your mindset. And the mindset that we preach is called psychotic optimism. People are like, psychotic? What on earth is that? So psychotic optimism is telling yourself every day, love exists for me. It's a when, it's not an if. And
I want to go there, because does that mean telling yourself verbally? I often tell people when you're feeling down to speak it verbally. What are your thoughts on that?
You have to first, thoughts lead to feelings.
Yes.
Feelings lead to actions,
Yes.
right? So the first thing you have to do is reseed your thought and
Yes.
make it conscious. So, and for some people, it's fine to repeat it mentally. For some people, they need to verbalize it. For some
Yes.
people, they need to write it down. Whatever you need it to, whatever you
And
need
if you're
to
struggling, do all three.
do all three. You need to create new neural pathways in your brain, right? It
Yeah.
takes a minimum of 60 days to begin to create a new habit. So you have to put this new thought in there. And every time those mind monkeys start jumping around going, there's no one out there for you.
Yeah.
You're too old. You're too this. You're too that. You've got to hear that. And you've got to shut it down.
I've
and
heard
say,
people-
talk to the hand. Love exists for me.
I've heard people say things like, I will be single forever. And those negative thoughts end up, I mean, I've said this before, if I know I'm going to lose the race, I'm going to run it differently. I'm not going to get sweaty. I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to try to catch up to the people in front of me. I will just run to lose, which will essentially be
said.
walking.
That's well said. That's right. If you think love does not exist for you, if you say to yourself, I'm too old to find love, I'm too heavy to find love, that thought, what feeling does that lead to? It leads to sadness. It leads to fear. And when you're feeling sad or full of fear, what is your action? I'm going to stay home and get a pint of ice cream or a gallon of ice cream and watch a new Netflix series. Are you going to go and doll yourself up and get yourself out there? Are you going to get online and send some emails? No. It all begins with that thought.
So you talked a little bit about this, but for everyone watching who is interested in using your services, what exactly are the offerings?
We do a lot of different things. It just depends on each person and where they are. We teach webinars, which you can access digitally, so you can hear my fire hosing of psychotic optimism and how to do things on your own, all the way to 1 year long, very in-depth, super fun, and direct but loving personal coaching where we do your photos for you, we write your profile for you. We are like your concierge service, kind of taking you through the process, helping you to identify your goals like a personal trainer would. For some people, they want their biceps, their triceps, their core. That's what we do. Who is the right person for you? And what's a way for you to get out there that excites you? And we help you to put together a plan that helps you to achieve that and to stick with it. And we're your cheerleaders. Like, when dating invariably is going to have speed bumps. So it's what you do when you fall down. Are you going to lay there forever and just look up? Or are you going to dust yourself up and get back up? And we help people to get back up with that gentle hand. We're like, come on, you got to keep running because you're going to win that race.
Now, where can our viewers find you? Where can they find Bela Gandhi of Smart Dating Academy?
So in lots of different ways. You can go to our site, smartdatingacademy.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Bela Gandhi Love. You can follow us on Instagram at Smart Dating Academy. Like our Facebook page at Smart Dating Academy. Lots of free advice, free tips, and if you want to use our services, you can send an email to our site and I will talk to you for 15 minutes and help you to ascertain what you need to do to really amp up your dating life and find love in the new year, because this is the time to do it.
This is the time to do it. So do not be discouraged. There is someone out there for you. And if you want love, don't say you don't. Say it's there for you at all times. I am so excited that you joined us on Passion, Purpose, and Paychecks. And it was a joy to speak to you, Bela. It was really a joy. And I'm so glad that you didn't just let life get you down when you were in that career that you weren't really loving, and you found what makes you stay up at night, I'm sure.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you all so much for joining us on Passion, Purpose, and Paychecks today and hearing our chat with Bela Gandhi, getting all the love tips for this year. You can do it. Follow us on Instagram at Passion, Purpose, and Paychecks. Go to our website, passionpurposeandpaychecks.com. Now, if you know someone that we should feature, we want to know about them. So send us an email, admin@passionpurposeandpaychecks.com. If you have a question for me about life and career, send it to admin@passionpurposeandpaychecks.com. And subscribe because you don't want to miss these interviews. Have a great day, guys.